All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Pick'em Limbo, and I say limbo because it's been a crazy ride. No one has been able to get through the first round, bar some of the really sweaty nerds that just went with the highest ranking teams, and by Luca, who's Luca, who's my guest for the second time in a row. Now he was here for the first stage. I didn't actually stick with your Pick'ems the first time, and you got 5 points. I didn't because I changed. So today I'm gonna be putting all my trust within you, and I'm gonna listen to what you say. But first things first, before we get into this one and talk about those matchups and talk about the first round games and all the teams and stuff like that, uh, give me your initial reaction on what happened in the opening stage. Any major upsets? Anything that caught you off guard big time in a pleasant or unpleasant way?
Yeah, man, a lot of things caught me off guard. I would like if you want to make it quick, I would rather say what didn't catch me off guard, like the
What
teams
didn't
that
catch you off guard? Mongols
the
three
teams
zero.
that we expected. Like obviously, you said MIBR was good. Like I also thought they're gonna make it through, and I felt bad for not putting them through.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, Mongols was very clean. I didn't expect them to be as clean against Gamer Legion, but it was like super clean. So it's gonna make it even more difficult now that I'm not putting them to go through. But yeah, everything else is a mess. Like big apologies to Wildcard. They were very good in this. I was telling you earlier, Fuzzy was very good.
Yeah.
Very surprising. He increased his level tenfold. I want to say since I only got to watching him at Malta RMR for Rio, when we actually could have met, like the
Okay.
first time Gamer Legion made it to a major,
Okay.
and then like I didn't think Sangha was that good,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the reasons I didn't think was Fuzzy, who was like inconsistent, missing all like easy shots, whereas now like he's the most consistent piece for Wildcard. So
Okay,
yeah,
I think wildcard is probably the obvious one that a lot of people are gonna look at and say they're the most impressed, right? Because you're looking at Mongols 3-0, I
for
think
sure.
was expected. Liquid, even if you didn't put them 3-0, you probably would have expected to go through. Gamer Legion, you could make a point with riding the momentum from the RMR and here playing good Counter Strike as well in the BO1s, losing only to the Mongols, which was the best team in this stage of the tournament, in my opinion. Pain, we expected to do well again.
Yeah,
I'd say MIBR the same. I guess wildcard big and Furia for me are the three main talking points of teams that were a bit on the 50-50. What do you think about big, by the way? Because with them, I'm struggling to make a decision. Obviously, I think a lot of people are going to be happy for them that they made it through because they honestly had to be in the next stage because they were 3-0 in the RMR. But for them, it was incredibly scrappy up until the last day and up
yeah.
until the game against Complexity. And I think we can throw in Big and Complexity in the same conversation as they played against each other.
I'm not exactly sure, but I think I had big to go through. I think I removed complexity, which is actually like what ended up as a 2-2
Yeah.
matchup. I think big were just good enough to make it past this stage. Like quality of players, quality of team is like slightly above average in this pool of teams, and I think yeah they just pulled through in the end, which is not usual because big has been known to miss majors to some Romanian teams. Only a few people know,
Yeah.
but yeah, they were good enough.
That was their first. That is their first major since Rio 2022, and they are making it top 16, which I think at this point is a good enough result. Before we get into the next stage, because we are gonna talk about some of the teams that made it through, as we're talking about the next line of matchups. Biggest disappointments of the majors so far of the
Has to
opening
be
stage.
fanatic. Like there's nothing else. Like I put you guys to go 3-0. What are you doing? Like honestly, like the level they displayed is just it just looks like a team that's not having fun together. It just look like a team that's like not actually a team. Like the webcams and also like cohesion on the server. Like every scrappy mid round, it feels like everybody had the better read. Everybody had like the quicker decision making on Fnatic, and it really showed. Like as a team, they were nothing like I saw them in the first stage. Maybe like they're a team that's variable based on confidence, and like this level gets increased like the more confident individual feel. And if they have a bad game, maybe that's what it shows. But that's still a team flaw, in my opinion. You have to go back to the drawing board and I don't know. Maybe roster changes as well. Following up. I don't know.
That's what I was gonna say. I think drawing board might actually be might actually not be enough in under those circumstances. The funny part is when I was looking at the best of one against wildcard in the opening game on Mirage, they had the lead for the majority of it,
Oh yeah.
and
You know the story with that?
I actually thought
Yeah.
Fnatic would win, and I was like, okay, it's sorted. They go 3-0, that's it, and then they lose the
You
first map, and everything goes down.
you want to know, like, because my reasoning before was like doing a normal veto, what I expected to happen in that BO1. Do you know that both teams actually played their permaban in Mirage in that game?
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah,
Yeah.
wildcard played two Mirages this entire tournament. It was one against Fnatic and the other one against Passion, and
That is crazy.
they
Teams
got
bring out
destroyed by
everything before the
Passion. But
major. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, Susp gave an interview. He said that they were actually practicing Mirage and he felt
For
comfortable
sure,
with
yeah.
it. But
I imagine
it's
Fnatic was as well, but it's not a veto that we outside can predict, and it just shows
no,
like even with these calculations, like what we're doing now, like being sweaty is not enough. Like there's no way we know these teams like what they have up
no,
their sleeve.
no, absolutely not. And I think before we get into the first round matchups for the next stage and we round it out on this one, a couple words about, because obviously I think if you're talking FlyQuest, it is disappointing that they didn't make it through. But on itself, the fact that they got so close, I think doesn't make it a failure of an event for them. The fact
Yeah.
that they were in the middle of the pack. They played some good Counter Strike. They beat Complexity. They beat Big. Both really good results for them. Played good against Liquid. We're semi decent against Spain. We don't talk about the MIBR game. Passion UA, the same. A little bit disappointing, but all in all, a team that seems to be growing really rapidly and that will probably become better and better unless the individuals get brought out from other teams now after the major is done. The conversation that I want to have is complexity. And what is your opinion on what is going on there? Because Elish is still one of the best rifles in the game. We had a chat about that before the start of the event, and we said that the only chance for complexity to go through is if Elish plays Hearts out Counter Strike. Now it wasn't only him. Hauser still had a couple really good maps as well. Grim had a couple good maps. Complexity still didn't make it through. Do we
Yeah.
finally see some bigger, larger scale changes on that complexity lineup?
I don't know. Like for me, complexity like was unlucky in that sense. Like if you're asking if Elish did his job, he did more than his job.
Yeah,
They started 0-2 and they had to grind like actual proper teams in BO3. So for me, that's like yeah, they just fell out the last hurdle with Big in the last map. Like as far as I'm concerned, they like did their best. It's not like some of the other teams that you mentioned that maybe fluke their way to the position to be like close and like for
sure.
them it would be a good result. So for me, like it's good enough. I want to say for complexity to stick with what they have. Like, would I like to see changes? Yes. Would I like to see Elish tearing them apart in phase? Yes, but I'm not sure it's gonna happen if he doesn't leave himself.
Okay, so are those the main talking points? I think Virtus Pro and Cloud9 are.
Oh, Virtus Pro is I'm just uh,
I, I think
it's
people
over,
just
man.
don't
Like
want to
what
talk
is
about
that?
VP anymore, right?
Yeah.
There's
After I
changes
saw
coming.
Wildcard, like it's a kind of a game that you never think can go another way,
Yeah,
and actually goes like that. It's like a one in a thousand games, and you still lose it, and it was convincing. Like it's not like Wildcard was the better team on the
yeah.
last two maps. Like Wildcard played better CS. They were like aggressive. VP was just like running through the motions and expecting to win, expecting to like individuals to just carry them like multi kill, all that, and it's not gonna happen. Like these people are good.
It's not only even that. It's the fact that they are playing like that while the individuals are not really looking in form, right? I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
you're
That's
looking at
cool.
electronic. Electronic. If you were to hide the nickname of electronic, it probably didn't look like he was playing in the server, and it looked like it was someone else. So that was a really awkward one, and I agree with you. I feel like this
It's
VP wildcard game was probably the only best of three out of all of them. That going into it, I thought 100% there's no chance anything else happens, bar the Fnatic Rare Adam one. We're not
yeah.
even talking about that one. That
Another one of
I
those. Yeah.
thought nothing could go wrong for VP, and then I watched the game, and wildcard literally outplayed them.
No, it was just rough to watch. Like individuals, as you say, like they aren't showing, but it's a style that's inhibiting individuals. And for me, like the only change that makes VP better is like they change how they want to play the game. Yes,
Okay.
this is if they want to play the game like this, they have to be so superior to other people, and they also have to like bring the confidence that it mitigates like the disadvantage it pulls them to. If anybody wants to watch, just watch the first like 2 gun rounds on each side on Anubis on City, and you will see the difference of approaching teams. Like Wildcard is running like disruptive stuff. Wildcard is like proactive mid round. There's nothing like that from VP. They're just gambling across, moving their numbers, and you're not gonna win. Like you're just not gonna win unless you're like out fragging them so much that they just lose faith in what they're doing. And Wildcard didn't do that.
Yeah, it didn't feel like it. So I think those are. I mean, there isn't too many hopeful stories about this entire thing. I'd say I'm a little bit disappointed that Imperial didn't win anything as well, because
Yeah,
I actually like them quite a lot. But
they had tough opponents for sure, but yeah, like it's just the like the quality of teams around here is
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
high.
I guess it is what it is, and one of the biggest disappointments for me. Well, it's not a disappointment because I have a team for the 0-3, but one of the biggest disappointments for me was the fact that Fury actually went through in a 3-1
Oh
fashion. But
yeah,
we're gonna get we're gonna
we're
go.
doubling down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're doubling down on the Fury hate. We're gonna go again with it. But with that being said, now we have the Mongols, Liquid Gamer, Legion, Fury, Pain, Wildcard, Big, and MIBR going into the next stage. Obviously, we had 8 teams here invited directly. Some of them went 3-0, 3-1. Some of them didn't, but were just highly enough ranked in the Valve ranking. So 3D Max, Heroic Face, Mouse, Spirit, Vitality, Navi, and G2 playing their first games in 2 days' time on the 5th. This video is being uploaded on the 3rd and probably, recorded on the 3rd and probably I'm going to upload it again today. So, first round matchups. How are we feeling about this one? Is there a game that we can comfortably predict, or is it an incredibly dodgy 50-50?
There is some in the first day. There is definitely some calculations to do. I tried my best to find another pair of teams for each 0-3 and 3-0, but
Okay.
if I learned something, we went 1-4 in those, so we're gonna also like wing it a bit, you know. So yeah, there are some like consistent matchups that happen, and like we kind of know who's gonna win there. But overall, I think in this stage there's gonna be less surprises because like the quality of teams increases more, and in BO3 like the variability, like you're not gonna get the Fnatic Rare Atom or like the
Yeah.
VP, like and yeah, like the level of CS is gonna be better, obviously. So yeah, I'm hoping for a more reliable. Uh, I don't know. Is it gold next from silver from
Yeah.
this one? I'm not so sure,
Yeah,
but
it's
yeah,
gold.
just to get our five basically.
Okay. First things first. The ones that strike me, I'd say, as I think, because I did a little bit of the calculator work as well, and I think G2 and Spirit were two of the teams that looked fairly reasonable for 2-0.
Yeah, yeah.
And another one was actually, I think Vitality had a pretty decent record, but for whatever reason, I'm not sure if I trust that Zai was going to be group stage merchant again. But in your opinion, out of the tier 1 guys that they're joining, and they've made it actually quite easy. They're all on the left hand side. Uh, which are the teams that usually you would put your money on to do well in group stages? Because there's notoriously
Yeah.
there's those types of teams. It was what Heroic used to be back in the day with Cadian, right? And nowadays, I would like to say that Mongols is one of those teams, but maybe not when
Mm-hmm.
their opening game is against G2.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You pointed them right. I think the highest percentage to get a 3-0 here is Vitality, but there's a big reason why. Because I think the second most likely team to make it through 3-0 is Navi. So for that reason, because they meet each other, because they have seed 2 and 3, so everything happens right. Even if G2 loses something, they're likely gonna meet each other at 2-0. I can't put either in good faith because I can't predict that match. But yeah, Vitality has like the easiest matchups in that sense. They could get phase in that route too. So I'm skipping Vitality on the 3-0. And yeah, we're coming to the duo you mentioned between like G2 and Spirit, and I think those are gonna be my 3-0 picks.
Okay, and because we are looking at the first round matchups for the sake of, I guess, saying or looking at who are the most logical teams to put 3-0 and 0-3. Who are the most logical teams to put 0-3 when if we're going with the counter logic? Because I know we're both gonna say Furia, but I know both of
Yeah,
us are not gonna say the Mongols only because they're playing G2 in the
no.
first round.
For sure not, especially like Mongols will beat a lot of these teams in BO3. Yeah, 0-3 is gonna be like, in my opinion, the same logic as last time. And it just happens that I'm gonna double down on some picks. I'm gonna double down on Fury, as you say, and I'm gonna double down on Wildcard. Even though I like Wildcard
Uh,
now, and it's maybe slander, but my reasoning is like looking at their route. So here in this major, I only see them winning a BO3 against, let's say, MIBR and Furia, let's say.
okay.
And I think that's pretty much it. I
I
don't think
think
they
they can
can.
beat Big in a best of three, by the way.
Maybe I trust Big more. If I
Okay.
was to put money on the line for that, I would trust Big more. And yeah,
Okay.
you're right. They're maybe getting Big in 0-2 if Big also does poorly. But yeah, this is the only two teams that I can see Wildcard beating. And BO1 as well, they're getting phase first, which is obviously like they can do it. It's not like
It's
it's
not
not
Mission
20
Impossible.
20.
Yeah.
Yeah. But their 0-1, if they happen to lose phase, is game or legion. And then I actually think it's an even worse matchup for them. Because Game or Legion will punish you in Veto for like the maps that you don't play as much. Like if you want to play Mirage against Game of Legion, you're gonna have a tough time. So for that reason, I'm gonna have Wildcard, and Furia is just like is the slander. You're gonna start 0-1. Like I think they're averaging like 4 rounds, one against Spirit in BO3s,
Yeah.
like in so like per map. I mean, so I'm not trusting them. Like it could happen if they prep very good and like Donk doesn't come alive, but yeah, it's just the likeliest BO1 to go in Spirit's favor. And again, like if I said Wildcard can't really win BO3s, Pain's gonna get Furia's gonna get Pain in the first one most likely because yeah, Mount
Yeah.
is also gonna play Pain and yeah, there I have to trust the better Brazilian team. So yeah, that's kind of like last time what you can predict. Like you're not really predicting who's gonna go 0-3.
Okay.
Like what you can do is you have to maximize. Like you have
The
to
probability.
think. Yeah, you have to
Yeah.
maximize who's gonna get 0-2. Like this is the as far as you can reach. And after
Sure.
that, if you can look at some matchups, then you can look for it. Yeah.
I
But yeah,
think
this is my 0-3.
it's really messy as well because you realize one BO1 goes against the expectations and then everything changes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
For sure,
the
even the
0-1
seeds.
matches change and the seeds change and everything goes astray. But I would say, following your logic, first of all, Furia, I'm not even disputing that we are putting Furia in the 0-3. I think they're one of the most shaky teams. I have no idea how they made it through 3-1, by the way. But I think other than that, the conversation for me, because I think out of respect now, I don't want to put wildcard in there because I think they're pretty legit. I would
Let me hear it. Who
if
are you
I
gonna pick?
you know what's the tough part, because I actually like most teams in this stage.
Yeah.
I think the other one that makes a little bit of sense for me is Big. Not because I don't like
Okay.
them, but because I actually trust that they will play a fundamentally good game. But I just think they have been a little bit more underwhelming than maybe what I expected in the opening stage, bar the deciding game. But even in the deciding game, I wasn't 100% sold that they would win up until the very end. And I think I'm not sure if there's a couple things that need to be changed there, because I think they have probably the best players that they could right now. Searson, when he turns up, is a good oper. JDC is in a great shape. Regon, when he's on, is on, but I think he's struggling a little bit to find his comfort zone on that big team. So I would say that they're one that I can imagine crumbling, especially when they're playing against Heroic first round, and I think Heroic is going to pleasantly surprise a lot of people throughout the major.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people would probably go for MIBR,
Mm-hmm.
but I just see MIBR as too legit of a team, and I think I don't see MIBR as a team that could upset and actually go into the playoffs. I think they could beat probably one or two better teams than them in best of threes. But I just trust MIBR in elimination games to do what they did today against FlyQuest. And when they're playing against someone that they can simply outrun and destroy and out-aim, just to do that.
Oh,
And
they can obtain for sure. That's the main reason. Like, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
obviously, like the other two Brazilian teams, like are gonna outclass Furia, but also like as you can see, like they can win BO1s. They have like a good opening matchup. So big is fair, I want to say, but last two times I think, or maybe one time that they met Heroic, they won. So I'm not gonna go through because of that. And yeah, like their most likely elimination, like 0-2, is wild card based on seeds because they're the closest to like together.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, these are probably the four, but it's really like only three viable choices, I think, here.
Yeah. Okay. So we're
And then
gonna
of
start
course
it.
G2's gonna go 0-3 and it's gonna destroy everybody. But
Imagine. By the way, I was thinking, what's the chance FaZe goes 0-3? I'm thinking. Imagine they
yeah,
they lose the first game against Wildcard and then
I
everything
think
falls
they
apart.
went before in one of those. They went 0-3 in
Yeah,
one.
they did. I think it was
And it
it
was actually Big who put them like one of your. It's when
they
Big
lost
like
to
first
Bad News
came.
Seagulls. They lost to Bad News Seagulls, and I think they lost to Big as well.
I think that was like in a 2-2 or something like this. It was like
Yeah.
not zero, but
Okay.
the first time like one of those majors that like one of the first times it was a Swiss
M-
format. I
might
think
have
when Big
been
was doing like the jump bug on Inferno and like
okay.
they were one of the teams that got upset, and this is when FaZe went 0-3. It was with
Okay.
Nico.
Okay, sure. Then I'm not thinking about the same one. But
Yeah.
going into the game, we have G2 and Spirit 3-0. I think pretty self-explanatory. G2 still should be one of the best teams in the world, even with all the rumors that people are leaving. They still have Monacy, who's been the best player in the world so far in 2024. They still have Nico. Snacks now has put an end to his negative KD streak of
I see.
20,000 maps. Yeah, he did
Oh
a couple
my
of maps
god.
ago, yeah, in the RMR. So everything's going good for them. Spirit, I think no explanation needed. I think it's going to be a miracle if they don't make it out, and they are honestly probably a team that you can bank on to make it through. Flush, I think that's what they did as well. In the Copenhagen major, didn't get a single loss, so they are showing to be quite a good team when it comes down to group stages, and are rarely losing to or to teams that are below them, teams that they're better from. So I think those are the ones. 0-3. What are we doing? What was the second team? Fury is number one. Are we putting wild card?
I am personally putting wildcard, and this is my suggestion for everybody that wants 5 points.
Okay, that's the suggestion for everyone that wants 5 points. And now we get into the 3-1-3-2. What are we going for here? What's the
I just
angle?
have to run them down like the
You
high
know you
seeds
know
and just
how you know how we're gonna do it. Let's go. You put one team in there. I put one team in there.
okay.
You go
Then I
first.
start with Navi, obviously. Why? Romanian power. They are very good, like a good option for 3-0, so
Okay.
might as well be here. You're putting Vitality, obviously, the other number one option. I'm putting Mouse first, actually. I think Mouse is like the third likeliest to make it. Very good in groups, very solid CS. I don't think they choke BO3s against the lower end of these teams.
Okay. The next one I'm gonna put in there is gonna be Heroic. I think one of the most underrated teams right now in World Counter Strike. I think they would have been rated a little bit highly had they won one out of Elisa Masters Esport the Thunderpick Grand Final, which they didn't. They lost both finals, but I think Heroic is a team that literally started their year in September. Because before that, you had the first 5 or 6 months of the year, you played with Nikodos, who wasn't even opening. It was like 25% of his kills were with the AVP, not more than that, which is ridiculously low for an oper. And
Now
then
you have an Oper, yeah.
and now you have Dexter, but in the first 4 months when Dexter was on Heroic, he actually had played only one LAN event with them because of visa issues, because of traveling issues, because of being sick and whatnot. So right now, I think Heroic are showing a much more improved face, and I think they have the right pieces plus a really solid coach. So I'm banking on them on a good day to make it quite deep.
Yeah, maybe a bit surprising, but I agree too. Like I heard also behind the scenes that they're doing very good in prac, and usually it translates to a good degree in majors. So I think they're in very good form and they're showing good CS. I might be one that looks really poor and they go 1-3 or something like this, but everything points that heroic goes through. Yeah.
Okay.
My next. I
Yeah.
think you're gonna put who I think you're gonna put, so I'm gonna put Pain in mine. I'm gonna like steal my spot.
Right.
And I really want Pain to make it through because they are playing sick. Like I'm not sure who they lost. Let me watch it again. 'Cause I don't think they went 3-0, but they could have
They went
very easily
3-1.
went through. Oh, they lost to Gamer Legion.
They
Okay.
lost to Gamer Legion. Yeah.
Yeah, doesn't spell very good, like if you compare these teams, but I think they're gonna be sick. I think Pains this time, if they win one of the BO1s, I think they're gonna be one of the teams that like edge it like in a 2-2, like maybe 2-1, something like this, like get a BO3 and surprise and shock somebody. And I think they had like good results too in the previous lands. that they went to internationally.
You
So
know,
I think it's their time.
what was the
Yeah.
exciting team when exciting thing when I watch Pain is the fact that I think Snow is starting to develop himself a little bit more. I think he's a bit more comfortable because when he initially joined the team, he used to play on case, right, in the Brazilian
Yeah.
scene. And you know how big of a carnage tier 3, tier 2 Brazilian Counter-Strike is. And he used to be the star player. He used to be the guy that gets all the good spots, that runs in first. Now on Pain, it's not like it. He has to anchor on a lot of the maps. It's really mixed up, so everyone gets a piece of the cake, so to speak. And then you have Big Uzera, who's an in-game leader that's not going to give you all the star spots just so you can play your game. He's still trying to make you comfortable, but he requires his space,
Yeah.
so to speak. So I
Goes
think,
around himself a lot because yeah.
yeah, so I think Snow needed a little bit of time to get readjusted, but now I think he has. I think himself and Lux are incredibly solid. And I agree with you. I think they are one of the teams that play the most exciting Counter-Strike in this entire event. And now for the last one, how I'm gonna do
Yeah, but
this.
before we go through,
Okay,
I
yeah,
also want to say about NQZ. I think NQZ
sure.
has become like Fuzzy, like similar situation. He's developed a lot, and a lot of people are like underrated, like the transfer with Try and this kind of stuff. But for me, like he's one of the main reasons they're so consistent. Like he's just hitting all the easy stuff. So for me, yeah, Pain, not like a login to go through, but a very good option among
Okay.
the others.
Okay, so we throw in Pain, and now we're left with a really difficult one. Now we
I
already
left you
mentioned
this choice.
yeah, we already mentioned Big. We're gonna start a conversation here. I'm not just gonna throw in one team.
Yeah.
So we already said that we're probably not trusting in Big to make it through to the playoffs. So I'm just gonna throw them out of the conversation. I think MIPR is a really decent team, and I honestly love what Drop has done. And I think he's developed really nicely as a captain. And Luke Housy's fit in nicely, even though they're pretty much the same player with Insani. But I think it might be a step too further for MIBR. On a good day, I believe they could squeeze it in, but I just find it a little bit hard
They
to.
need good draws for sure.
Yeah, they need good draws. That's what I'm saying. I think it's going to be a difficult one. They would need the stars to align a little bit. So if we throw
They
those two
need
out
good
of the
draws,
equation,
and the difference is that Pain is seed 13 and MIBR is seed 16. So they're
yeah,
literally the worst seed in all holders. So like if there's any big dog that gets upset, they get
they're
like an
playing MIBR.
MIBR free ticket. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So for simply that reason, I just can't put MIBR to go through.
yeah,
But they're not going 0-3.
yeah. So we agree on those two. Out of those
Yeah,
five teams, I think on a good day, either one of those five could actually get
for sure.
the final spot. And
For
the
sure.
way that I wanna do this, I wanna be logical with it, and I wanna now we're gonna go passing the ball to one another again, and we're gonna start finding arguments for both teams not to make it. Now the first one I'm gonna put out there that I honestly believe in, but it's just too big of a gamble, is Face Clan. I think Face
Hmm.
right now with the atmosphere on the team has simply looked like a team that is a little bit uninspired to play, and I think changes there are inevitable unless they win the major, which is always a possibility with Face because they could always turn up and just play the best Counter Strike in the flow, and the deeper they go into the tournament, the better they play. But I just think
Yeah.
the level of competition in this specific major is too high for them to actually get enough chances to get warmed up, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to shut down the argument entirely because I'm also a fan of like logical approach to Counter Strike, but FaZe is like the opposite in terms of like predicting what they're gonna do. The only thing I'm pretty sure of is that if you let FaZe come to like a 2-2 matchup, whoever you are, including maybe some of the teams that are here, like you are in for a tough
Yeah.
matchup in that 2-2. So for me, like FaZe is one of the biggest candidates to make it if you allow them in. Otherwise, they would have to like be shut down very early, and they actually don't have like the hardest starting matchup. They're gonna have wildcard and they're gonna have prep for wildcard as well. So for me, I can't really like rule out phase entirely if that's what you want to do now.
No, no. I'm just
Okay.
starting conversations about the teams
All
because
right.
I
All right.
wanted to start from someone that I can rule out entirely, and then I realized it's difficult to do. So I think we're gonna leave FaZe on the side for now because we
Yep.
can't find the best argument ever to leave them out here. What about 3D Max?
They're playing solid CS. It's just that every like so far it's been very gradual for them, similar to Passion UA,
Okay.
and they've been like only G2 has been like the upset that like actually put them here. So I think that's like the outlier. But 3D Max is the kind of team that will crumble to nerves. Like they will lose their identity a bit, and maybe even going a bit more into the CS they play. They're one of the like OG playing teams for CT aggression. They're like
Hmm.
copying the old heroic style, and they've like ingrained it very well in their play. Like if you want to see a team that never stops pushing on CT, you're watching 3D Max, and they're like the proactiveness level and the way they play, like their synergy with each other is insane. And I
Yeah,
think they can beat a lot of the teams here. But again, 2-2 matchup against FaZe, I'm not sure you're winning that. So
yeah,
I'm not sure if they're worth ruling out, because they're probably gonna win BO3s against maybe all of the other teams except Mongols. But it's still not enough in my opinion. I think they maybe can even beat Pain, and that's why like I kind of stole your spot there. So if you want to change your mind later and kick down Pain for 3D Max, I'm not gonna be upset.
I think my only, because I love 3D Max and I've rambled enough about them, and I'm glad that you mentioned the part with them playing an old style of Counter Strike, because there was a, you know, KRL, right, the
Yeah.
French analyst slash coach or whatever. He had a stream where he was explaining that, and I actually looked into it. There's some incredible similarities in some of the rounds that Titan used to run back in 2016,
Okay.
2017, that 3D Max is still running, and it's
All right.
sick.
All right.
Yeah,
I,
it's
I
it.
I wasn't aware of that. I just know that like
Yeah,
the heroic style, like the constantly pushing and like
yeah,
using your numbers to like take risks, like it's something that heroic implemented like when
yeah,
Game Origin was getting good. So it's something I remember fondly. And yeah,
yeah.
it's a good team.
But I agree that I think they look like a team, because when you're having that proactive style, it's really easy under the pressure to crumble. And I think actually they would have been one of the teams to actually benefit from starting in the previous stage, because I think they would have made it through. Just get a
Yeah.
little bit more comfortable and get some more experience playing on the stage. I think it might be a
I don't
little
think
bit
they
too much
mind
for them.
the rest time in China. They're
Oh
gonna
no,
be
no,
prepped,
no.
so
They don't mind it, but I think it would have been better for them to get accustomed, and I would have fared it
could
more
be.
if they had played previous games already. So that leaves us with three more. Now, Liquid, I think, could always make it because of the skill that they have, but I just don't believe that much
Me neither.
in the current
Better
form.
Furia.
In
Better Furia, in my opinion. Yeah. Sorry, you can go.
a better version of Fury.
Yep.
Okay,
I
any.
just don't believe it. Like the quality of CS, like what they're putting on displays, is just like it's not good. Like they can get owned very easily. Like how many times have you seen Liquid lose like 13-1, 13-0? Like this kind of stuff. Like for me, that's like a fundamental problem like with their management team. And like
Mm,
if that can happen to you, there's so many teams that can make you do that. Like if you're getting a spirit and don't just wants to play the game for like first 6 rounds and you can get rolled like that, like you don't have a chance in these like BO3s like to go through. And like the lower end teams, I just think most other teams like around this area are just playing better CS than Liquid right now. Like I don't really watch them too much, so it's not like a general like an objective opinion as much as like a cliche that like, not cliche but like you know what I mean.
yeah.
Like Liquid is, I just don't think they're like above the threshold to make it here. They can
Okay.
get lucky draws in BO1, but I want to personally rule them out simply because I just don't think they're good enough there.
Okay. Okay. And now we're left with FaZe, Mongols, and Gamer Legion. Now,
Yeah,
for Gamer Legion, I want to say, by the way, I think up until now, that team, because you're looking at this project, they added Tolson like a month and a half ago. I think that's a long term project. They've covered the maximum of what they needed to do in order to feel like they've actually had a really successful event. From here on out, I think you're not playing with a lot of pressure. I think they definitely have the capabilities and skill to actually go through. It would still have to be a really successful run in the BO1s and then hoping for a good draw in the best of threes. But I think there is some definite some potential there, definitely. I still think they probably are running out of magic a little bit going into
I
this
think
one.
so too. I'm the biggest fan, obviously, you know why, but uh,
I think what happened against the Mongols
you
was
can
a great
see, yeah,
example.
you can also see like even in the games they won, like the struggle against the Passion or whatever. Passion is not an experienced team, and Towson, like you mentioned him, he's like big struggling right now individually. Like he's letting the team down on a lot of fronts. And yeah, if everybody says Flamos is very good and like he's overperformed to get them over this line. But also, I think Slane has been pretty shy. Like the normal level he has and like the level online, like if he's not able to do that, I don't think they can hang. And yeah, like it's a fair one to rule out. I don't think
Okay,
like I
so
never thought the day would come where I'm putting game religion like me. I'm putting game religion to not go through, but I don't think I can above the other teams.
it's just too stacked, isn't it? It's probably one of the
Yeah,
most stacked elimination
Yeah,
stages
also
we've
like the
all.
Vitality first round matchup doesn't
Yeah,
help. So
yeah,
yeah,
it doesn't. So face Mongos. Which one would you go for? And then I'm gonna put the one that I want to go for.
yeah. Between these two, every CS fan just has to say phase. I think Mongols are good.
Okay.
Like it's if you want to put them instead of Pain, that's also possible. Like I see that. Like they're playing a good CS. They're playing very solid. They're like not a team that plays like complicated CS if you watch it, except Nuke. They're fucking masterminds. But yeah, like it's a team that has like a good chance. They're starting 0-1 most likely because they always lose to G2 for whatever reason. But yeah, I think they have a chance to make it through. I'm putting FaZe though. I think like if anybody allows FaZe to get 2 wins and you're getting them in a BO3, I don't think you can escape that. Like whoever you are, obviously they can also lose it, but it's just like the mental age they will have on you in that games.
Okay. All right. We happy with those? We're gonna leave it like
Yeah.
that. This time I'm gonna trust you. I would personally, the changes I would make personally, but I'm not gonna make them this time, would be to put Mongos instead of FaZe and
Instead of
MIBR
FaZe,
instead of
okay.
Wildcard. That's
All
what
right.
that's what I would do. But this time I'm trusting you and I'm sticking with what you're saying. So
I think yeah,
we're
for the
gonna
people
leave it
at
at that.
home, if you don't feel the same way, I think Pain is your slot there. I think Pain maybe Phase. Like if you want to put 3D Max, Liquid or Mongols in one of those, I think like this is where you can mess around. But like the three at the top, I think are locked in, and Heroic is like a good pick, like with a lot of reasoning behind it. So I think that's where you can change it a bit.
Okay,
And
that's
please
where
G2, do not go 0-3 for the love of God.
what?
Please G2, do not go 0-3 for the love of God.
No, I think that's out of out of the realms of possibility. But can you imagine? That would be a great last major for G2 with
I just remember like
for Nico with G2.
I don't remember the tournaments, but one tournament like they win a final against Navi, and the next week they're bombing out like last place. Like if they do something like this again, I swear, man, it's not okay. Something happens there.
Yeah, I think it's I don't know. Was that I am Rio? You're thinking about I am Rio
I
if it was recent.
think
Because they
so. The
won
final
a
that they won,
blast event. They won blast
yeah,
and then they bombed out of I
and then
am
they went
Rio.
to IEM Rio and bombed out. Yeah, last
Yeah, where
place.
they lost to Eternal Fire in the lower
Oh yeah,
games, and
yeah,
and to
yeah.
Heroic and the ones. Yeah, yeah, that's the one. Well, hopefully they don't pull off one of those. And Navi had a similar event as well, but everyone said that they're happy that it actually happens before the major because they can learn from it a little bit. They can get that mental reset. But yeah, I'm happy with this one. I think that's where we leave it. 37 minutes talking about it again. We're keeping it nice and short as always. Folks, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what pickems you have decided to go for. If you're gonna copy ours, if you're, I mean, I say ours. I'm doing what Lucas says for this one, pretty much. But yeah, let us know. Let us know if you were able to successfully pass the first stage. I wasn't, but we're still in the fight for. We're still in the fight for the gold coin, I guess. And I'll see you for the next one, which is hopefully going to be still fighting for the gold coin and is going to be the playoffs. So yeah, enjoy the major. Hope you appreciate the fact that we're uploading this one late in the evening and you're going to have a little bit more than a day to look into those ones. And best of luck. I'm going to see you soon. Bye bye.
Let's go Navi.